Hi everyone! Welcome to Coding Club. I'm so excited that you're all here. I hope everything's working okay. It looks like we only have one viewer right now, so hopefully we get a few more and it's working for everyone. Let me go ahead and double check actually. So today we are going to be doing a Code the News activity together. So this might take a few clubs to go through. It's a longer project and it gets into loops and conditionals in addition to everything that we've done already. Things like sequencing and things like variables. And I'm like worried about these lack of viewers. I'm gonna go ahead and double check that everything is working really quick here. I hope everyone's doing well today and ready to code some fun projects. Down in the description, there are, as I'm like getting ready here, there are links to both sign up and just to start coding right away. Yeah, it seems like it's working fine. Down in the description. Oh, what a nightmare. Okay, cool. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, you can go directly to the link that's in the description. It's vidcode.com/project/hoc-news. You can also sign up with the link that I already sent out or the link that you already used to sign up. That's in the description as well. So you can go there and press Start Coding. For you, it's going to be the big blue button. For me, it's this link here. And we're actually, for today, going to go up to Starter Projects and then Code the News right here. And I will go ahead and post that link directly in the chat so you guys can all come here directly. Hi, Juhi, can you hear me? Awesome. So for those of you who are new to VidCode, who are new to Coding Club and all of that, this is VidCode. This is the website that we use to code our projects. It looks like we're not 100% in line. Let's go ahead and resize this so it fits. There we go. Very cool. So this is our code editor. This is where we spend most of our time in Code Club. We have different instructions that we go through. We have different buttons that we can use that are filled with JavaScript code. We have this code editor that sometimes we type directly into, and other times we kind of use blocks as a scaffold. And then we also have what we call a canvas over here. This is where we're going to be able to see our project, and then under it we have this media gallery where we can choose all of these different videos as well as graphics and music. For this project, this is one of my favorite projects, and we've never done it in Coding Club because it's such a long project. Like I said, this will probably take 2 sessions. But it's really fun, and a cool thing about it is that wherever you end on this project, you have a finished newscast. The other special thing about this project, because it's longer, is it has this like crazy timeline on the top that's going to track our progress as we go through it. You don't have to worry about this too much, but just know that that's what that is. So let's go ahead and get started. I am going to challenge all of you to actually record a news video. Like choose a topic, record a news video. You can go to record from webcam and record it here. I'm not going to do this on like a live stream. I'm going to use one of the sample ones for now. But in between this week and next week, maybe I'll sit down and record a newscast. for now, I'm actually just going to use Santa. And so as soon as I drag in any of these videos, a couple things happen. The first thing that happens is this code gets populated into my code editor. The second thing that happens is my canvas changed, right? It changed size. There's a video on it now. And that's because this code is pulling in a video and applying it to the canvas. If I change this to a different file name, you see how these all have different file names? So if I instead make this anchor 1, it'll no longer be Santa. Anchor 2 is also not Santa. Anchor 3, also not Santa. And then anchor 4 would bring us back to Santa. So there's always multiple ways to do things when you're coding with Code Club. You can always sort of use the interface, or sort of use the reference, or use the buttons, or just type anything you want in directly. So if you're someone that already knows quite a bit of JavaScript, which is the language that we use here, go ahead and try out some of the things that you know from other libraries, or just from like the JavaScript code you already know, and sort of see what happens. Some of the like cooler projects that I've seen over the years have been just people sitting down and sort of messing around and trying to figure out what to do. Hi. Oh, it's okay that you're late, Milo. This is the link that we're on. I'll post it directly. There you go. Cool. So some of the different features that we're going to be coding today are things that you'd expect to see on a news broadcast. We're going to have things like graphics and logos, and like scrolling headlines and other stuff. Anything that you can think of, like if you've done an AV club before, you're familiar with it. If you haven't been to AV club before, you've probably seen a newscast. So think about that. Think about what those newscasters, or not the newscasters, they're not in charge, but the people behind the scenes at those news studios are kind of doing with like switches. We're actually going to be coding those features. So we're doing less the like person managing the newscast part and more doing the person who originally made that software that the newscasters then use part. So let's go ahead and start. I'm going to go ahead and click next here. And the first thing that we're going to do is actually, you're going to be very familiar with this from last week when we were doing the Snapchat project, is just to choose a graphic. So go ahead and select the graphics tab here. And there's a whole bunch of graphics to choose from. If you want, you can always upload your own as well. So for this newscast, I actually want to do one about Coding Club. Like Coding Club for 10 weeks, so something like that. So I am going to, I think for my first graphic, I'm going to do fireworks. It's like exciting that it's Coding Club's probably third month. That's what my news story is going to be, the third month of Coding Club. So fireworks make sense for me. Depending on what you want your newscast to be about, different graphics might make sense for you. So choose whatever. So if you were here last week when we did the Snapchat project, you remember that this variable is actually holding this fireworks graphic. So because this myGraphic1 is inside this variable, I'm able to edit it further on in my code. So I do that in this case by adding additional lines where I would say like myGraphic1.size or .scale or .opacity or .rotation, and that lets me take advantage of this container, this variable, and edit this graphic. If I wanted to, and the tutorial is leading me here, I don't have to just use whatever default variable name my project gives me. We did do that with Snapchat. With Snapchat, we're just like, whatever gets generated here, I'm just going to use as my variable name. But we don't have to do that. We don't have to live that life. And this Code the News project is actually going to be quite a bit more complex than the Snapchat one. There's going to be more moving elements. It's going to take us 2 days to make, for example, instead of just one. So instead of my graphic 1, we're going to actually start to customize our variable names. So the first way to do that is, this is telling us to call it inset. You don't have to do that. I guess I will for now, but if something else makes sense to you, like if fireworks, like I could call this fireworks instead. Anything that if I am revisiting this code a week from now, or another programmer is sitting down to read my code, it'll make sense to them. So some of the properties of this graphic that we can edit, if you remember from previous coding clubs or previous tutorials, are things like the X property and the Y property. X is going to be left and right, where this is positioned, and Y is going to be up and down. If I'm not sure where I want to position something, I can always hover my mouse over my canvas, and this little like cheat thing, this like X and Y kind of right here, up here, and show me where my mouse is at any given time. So if you're not sure what the X and Y position of something you want to move is, you can go ahead and just like move this around and see sort of where you want to put it. So I want to put it kind of over here to the right of her. So I'm going to say fireworks.x equals like 300. And then now it's moved over to the right. So like a bit too far, it's kind of off the screen. I'll make it like 280. Cool, that looks good to me. Luke's, today's lesson is about Code the News. We are on this link. So this is one of the more, like the longer projects that we're ever doing in Tuesday Code Club. It'll probably take 2 sessions, and it gets into things like loops and conditionals, and we're recreating like different graphics that you'd see on like a news broadcast. So I'm saying fireworks here. Like if you look on line 5, my code says fireworks.y, but that's only because the variable I set here is called fireworks. So whatever your variable is that you set, that's the word that you're going to be using on all these like subsequent lines. We're going to set the y position as well. Fireworks.y, something with like 15 or something, not too much. And then I can also change the size of it. So I can do that with the dot scale property. Dot scale is a little bit different than dot size. Dot size, it's usually, I would choose a number between like 0 and 100. Dot scale is a little bit different. Dot scale, like for dot scale, 1 is exactly the size it is here. 2 would double it. 0.5 would like put it in half. So it's a little bit different than like the idea of size. For scale, 1 is the default. So I want to make my graphic smaller, I think. So I'm going to say fireworks dot scale, and I'm going to say 0.7, and that'll make it like a 7th of the size. And that's not true, a 70th of the size. If I wanted it to be a 7th of the size, I would say 0.07, and it would be super, super, super tiny. I can like hardly see it. So play around, make it look good on your screen. Usually when there's like graphics on a newscast, I'm thinking like sort of news story style. It's like right next to them like this, especially if they're in the studio. So go ahead and do something like that. You can also change the opacity. So just like scale, opacity goes from 0 to 1. Although I guess unlike scale, if I go over 1, nothing happens. It doesn't like keep going up. So for example, if I wrote fireworks.opacity and set it equal to 1, nothing changes. It's completely opaque. But if I wanted it to be transparent, I could set this to like 0.5. And you can see it's starting to disappear. So if I set it to 0, for example, you don't see it at all. So play around, it's just another property. I don't think we played around with opacity in the Snapchat filter project, so this might be kind of a new property available to you all. Next. So do you remember how I said before that this is going to be kind of a longer project? Like we're going to be doing this beyond today. So one thing to know about that is that there's a lot of ways that we can prepare this code so that it makes sense to us next Tuesday when we open this up again after not thinking about it or seeing it for 7 days. One way is good variable names. So on line 4, I set this to var fireworks. It's like very clear to me, even if I add other graphics, which variable all of this code sort of applies to. The fact that it's all organized under var fireworks without any spaces also makes it really easy to read. So if I added another graphic, I'd probably add 2 lines here so that I kind of break up the space between this logic and whatever I do next. The other way that I can make this really easy to come back to is to add comments. So for example, on line 4, if I want to like nest all of this code under a single comment, I can write // and then right aligned fireworks graphic. So you make the graphic smaller with this dot scale. So fireworks dot scale, and any number below 1 is going to make it smaller. So go ahead, add comments in that make sense to you. I'm not going to add comments for every line just because like I think it would make my code sort of start to seem out of control. And I also think that like .x and .y and .scale and .opacity, the code explains what it does. So for me, I'm only going to add comments to sort of the like sections, not the individual lines of code. So I think someone was asking about text in the comments, Milo. So if you go to step 3.1 out of 10, this text button will actually appear in the like effects area of your editor. So go ahead and drag that in the same way that we did with graphics or anything else. And it's going to do a few things here. The first, we have a variable. We have a variable name, which the default one for this is just my underscore text1, and then equals text, the variable, and then calling this string hello. So I don't want this to say hello. This is going to be my headline. So instead of hello, we can go in and say coding club reaches 800 or no, I'm going to say like 800 people have coded with Good Code Coding Club. Cool. So for you, just make your string say whatever you want. This is the code for it. I just posted it in the chat just in case this like button isn't working for you or anything like that. And it's okay if it goes off the screen. It does for me too. We're going to be using something called a loop to scroll it. And then we're going to be using something called a conditional or like an if-else statement to loop it back to the beginning of the canvas. So go ahead and update this variable name. I called this fireworks because mine was fireworks. You maybe called yours something else. For this, I'm going to go ahead and call this headline because it is, in fact, going to be my headline. There's a lot of different properties to the font object that we can edit. Those include, and I can always just like check in the reference, but things like X and Y position, color, size, and font, and rotation. So all kinds of different properties that are available to me in this object. So here, for this, I'm going to say headline.font There's a whole bunch of website fonts you can choose. I'm gonna make this Arial maybe. It's like not that exciting. I'm gonna make it impact. Ha, okay, that's kind of crazier. Yeah, I like impact. We're gonna stick to that for now. But play around, use fonts that you've thought of. Anything that's on your computer will work, as well as like classic website fonts. So the other thing that I want to do is actually move my text down a little bit and to the left so that when it scrolls, people have more time to read it. So the first thing I'm going to do is move it down to the bottom of my screen. And I do that not with my X, that would be my left and right, but with my Y property. So here I'm going to say headline dot Y equals like 120, 150. Yeah, that looks kind of nice. It's like a little too close, like giving me anxiety. There we go. 190 is what I'm looking for. 194. Okay, cool. And then here, headline.x, and I'm going to move it over a little bit. There we go. So now as it scrolls, because I'm telling you that we're adding a scroll, even though we're not there yet, people are going to be able to read it and have time like as it scrolls left to read the text. Some of the other properties I can change are color. I do that the same way that I did the others. The easiest way to know how to change my code is to like look at my previous code, if that makes sense. So it's always going to be the same syntax. Like instead of headline.y or headline.font, I would write headline.color. It would kind of be what I would expect it to be. So here, headline.color equals, and go ahead and like play around with the color here. If you just choose one, you can click on it. This is like a VidCode feature. And you can use this color picker to choose a hex color. If it doesn't stand out against your background super well, that's okay. We're going to have the option to add like a rectangle behind this. Cool. And then the other thing that we can change is the size. By default, the size is 55. This is like way too big for me, so I'm gonna get like 45 or like 35. It's too small. 40. There we go. At 55, it was just too big. Like I feel like when I watch a newscast, the text is never that huge. I'm gonna move it down a little bit more, down to like 200, since it's taking up less space. There we go. Cool. Once your text is kind of where you want it, where you're liking it, go ahead and add a comment. Remember, this is a multi-part series. We're going to be doing the same project next week. So I want to know where I left off. So here I'm going to say headline, maybe like a note, scrolling feature not yet implemented. How are your projects going? Let me know in the chat if you all need help with headlines or anything, or if you're running into any bugs. I know that it's a bit harder in this format to debug, but if you are running into bugs, go ahead and just post them in the comment section. Or I mean, post your code in the comment section, not the bugs. And we can kind of help you debug from here. Okay, cool. So the next part of this is that we're actually going to add like a rectangle to go behind the graphic here, because it's like a bit hard to see. And like when I think about the newscast, or like if I was the newscast right now and someone added a graphic right here, it would probably be behind a box. So let's design that and start by just dragging in the rectangle box right here. If you don't see the rectangle here, just press next until you're caught up to me. So until you're also like 4.1. and then this code appears. So we have my underscore rect equals, and then this function rect, rect, short for rectangle. And then the things getting passed in, these arguments, are 0, x, width, and height. So these first two are x and y. It would be the same thing as writing myrect.x and myrect.y. It's just another way to create this shape. And then I have the width, and then I have the height. So let's go, I'm going to put some spaces here so I can see my code better. And then I'm going to start by changing this. So it's not telling me to do it yet, which I'm surprised. Oh, there we go, container. So let's do this first. Let's go ahead and move this box around so that it's doing what I want it to, so that it's next to my newscaster. So let's go ahead and say like 300. So it worked, it's in the right place, but it's covering my graphic. Can anyone tell me in the chat why it would be covering my graphic? What have I done wrong here? I'm just going to keep going, but if someone can tell me in the chat how to fix this, let me know. So the first thing I'm going to do is change my rect here to container. I could call it firework container, and I call it firework container, or like inset background. Because that's what it is. It's like, because it could be a container for anything, right? But specifically, I'm creating it to hold my graphic. So for me, I'm going to call it inset underscore background. But call it whatever you want, and just remember that you have to like use whatever your variable name is when editing this. So close, Shira. I could change the X and Y to make my fireworks visible, but I want my box to be the background for my fireworks. So if I like change this to like 120, for example, yeah, I see my fireworks, but my box still isn't behind it. It's still not the background for this graphic, which is what I want. So how would I change my code to not only to stay where it is, I still want it next to me. I keep like gesturing next to me, but I still want it like next to this newscaster, but I just want it to be behind it. Some of the other things I can change on here are the width. I'm going to make it a little bit wider, move it back a little bit, and then I'm going to move it up a little bit as well and make it a little bit lower. Some of the other properties I can change here are things like the background color. So dot color, I am going to do that. I'm going to make it white. I can also change the border color. So let me go ahead and just like pull up the full reference here. And whenever you're not sure about like the code to change something, it's really easy to just open the reference and like click to wherever it is you're trying to learn more about. So in this case, I can see dot border width lets me change the border width, and dot border color lets me change the border color. So inset background dot border width. I'm gonna make it bigger. Too big, too much. And then inset background dot border color. And I'm gonna make that like orange or something. Maybe like a blue. Yeah, that looks quite nice. All right, this is telling us how to do that. So Go ahead and customize your rectangle. If you're following along and click next, it'll give you different code to help you, or you can just kind of take a look at what I've been doing. I think the only complicated part is this, just because it looks different than the other parts of our code. But this is just X position, and then Y position, and then width, and then height. So you kind of just have to remember or click on this to see. As far as the sequencing thing, like getting behind it, no one's told me yet, which is fine. Maybe I'll give you guys like 30 more seconds to try and answer just how I would get my fireworks to appear above my inset background. And while I'm giving you guys that time to potentially answer, I'm just going to play around with my project and just customize it. Adding emojis here. Okay. You guys aren't going to answer me. That is fine. Yes! Someone got it! Amazing. It is the order of the code. So yes, this is a sequencing problem. So my code is read in order. So it starts off with everything getting read as it's written. So it starts with, for example, the movie appearing on my canvas and getting set as the background. And then it's reading the fireworks and adding the fireworks. And then it's reading the headline and adding the headline. And then it's reading the rectangle and adding the rectangle. And because of that order, everything that gets added on top of the previous thing. So for example, if I made this bigger, it would actually cover my text as well. I don't want that. What I do want is for my fireworks to cover my background. So I'm going to take all of this code, copy it, cut it, whatever, get rid of it, and then paste it all the way at the top. And there we go. Now my fireworks are appearing above it, which is exactly what I wanted. I don't want it to be opaque anymore. I'm just going to set this to 1. And I think this looks great. I think with the background, I want everything a little bit more to the right. Let me say 290 here, maybe like 300. And then same thing here. I'm going to move this a little bit further to the right. Cool. This looks great. Milo, we're going to get to looping this text in a bit. I have scrolling feature not yet implemented. So before I move any further, I'm going to go ahead and add a comment to my code. And I'm going to say, write graphics background. Cool. So go ahead and finish yours up. Make it look sort of how you want it to. If you have like a color scheme, fit it to that. Like mine's a bit celebratory, so I'm trying to like add emojis and like make the colors kind of bright. If you're making a news broadcast about something sad, maybe you don't want it to look like this. If you're making a news broadcast about like an emergency, maybe like the text is white and like the background is red, something like that. Try and make it match whatever your news story is about. So the next thing we're going to do is add a background behind my headline as well. First I'm going to move the headline down a bit actually, because I don't want it to overlap with this other box. Let me make this other box smaller by changing the height position. Awesome. That looks good. So here, I'm going to go ahead and drag in rectangle. I'm dragging it above my text because I don't want to run into the same problem I was running into before. I know that my code is run in order, so I know that I have to create this variable that holds this rectangle. I need to call this rectangle function before I do all the nonsense with my text. So let's change this variable name. This wants us to call it headline box. I don't know about that. I mean, I called this inset background. So I think here I'm going to call this headline background. You can call yours whatever you want, whatever makes sense to you. Just keep track of whatever it is because you have to use it to edit the properties for everything below it. So same thing as before, let's edit the X position, Y position, width, and height to be behind my text. There's a couple things I'm going to show you here. So the first is I want to change my, I'm not going to change the Y position at all, right? Because I want it to be like just behind my text, like all down the bottom of my screen. But I am going to change the X position. No, the opposite is true. I'm not going to change the X position. I'm going to change the Y position. There we go. Okay, awesome. And then here, I need to change the width across. I could guess at what it is, but I could also just write in movie.width, and that'll automatically just fill the screen for me. And then height, just it needs to be just like a lot less. There we go. Make it 50. Whatever. Cool. So same thing as before. We're going to go ahead and edit the different properties here to customize it. I need it to match my theme, you know? So if you go to step 5.5 out of 10, there's all this code here that serves as a reference to what the different properties are of this background, of this variable. So here I am going to start to edit the properties of it. So things like headline background, dot color. I'm going to make it like a gray instead of just like a black. Yeah, that looks better. Move it down a bit more. Make it like a darker gray. There we go. And then I can change once again the border color. So I'm going to say the name of my variable, headline background dot border color. That's looking good. And then I'm going to make the width a bit bigger. So headline background dot border width. Set it to like 5. Oh, that's fine. And then I want my text isn't exactly centered. I'm going to move it up a little bit. There we go. That's better. So I think this is looking pretty good. I'm actually going to do one more thing that isn't listed here, but I just know it. And I am going to say headline background dot opacity and set it to like 0.7, so it's not totally, there we go, now it's a little bit transparent. I think that looks better. Milo, if you want to jump to looping, you can go up here and then go down to scrolling headline. It's step 7. Just jump directly to that, and it'll show you how to loop it. We're actually almost done for today. I think, so let's add a comment here. Background for headline. Just headline background. Can you just say headline background? Cool. So this is it for today. Next week, we're going to be going through and adding things like loops. We're going to loop it. So we're going to be using the repeat loop to, yeah, I mean, I guess that's the best word for it, just like animate our text. So we're going to make it so it animates to the left, like a scrolling headline. I guess scroll is the word. And then we're going to add a conditional so that it loops at a certain point, so that it keeps going back and we can keep looking at it, like reading it. We're also going to be doing things like having these graphics fade in and out. So go ahead and join us next week. In the meantime, if you want, there's a couple options here. You can save this as a draft, which is totally fine, but you can also just submit it, so then you have like a finished version that you can just go back and edit. So I'm going to go that route. I'm going to submit it and I'm going to say Coding Club newscast day number 1. Just so I have it. Like now I have this first version. View my project. If for some reason some of your graphics don't appear, just press the refresh button. And this is it. So this should be on your portfolio. Next week, we're going to start from this point. I will be sharing my project. So if for some reason someone isn't here, they can just remix mine and start from where we left off. Yeah, let me know if anyone has any questions. I really like this project, Code the News. I think it's like very dynamic and fun when it's done. Part of next week is that we also get to sort of make a logo. Let me see if anyone published one, and I can show you guys what it looks like. Oh, these are great. Charlotte, is it okay if I share yours? So I'll just show you guys one project and then I'll hop off. This is Charlotte's. It's so good. So we have Charlotte learns to how to hack the news. We have this awesome Hour of Code logo. We use the Santa project, which I love. I love the Santa one. I don't know why I chose one that wasn't the Santa one. And yeah, we have really great comments here. All the code seems super organized. And we have, yeah, this box around the headline that's like super well aligned. And I really like the color scheme. I think it's really fun, and I think it kind of matches the Christmas vibe. Cool. So with that, thank you all so much for joining. I think people might still be having questions connecting because we're not getting the same amount of people that we were when we were doing Zoom. So if there are any like questions with or like any problems with the connection that I might be unaware of, or like any questions that you're having joining, or like tips I can give to other people, like just email me and let me know. I just posted my email in the chat. And yeah, I'm super excited to see you all next week and finish our news podcast. I think we can finish the rest of it in one session, but if we can't, then we'll sort of let this go over into a third. Have a great rest of your week, everyone.